Hey, Betsy. Okay if I come in? How are you doing? Huh. So, this is Betsy Goldenheart. She's a 1972 German Spec Super Beetle. And this is basically the condition that I purchased her in. I've done a few things to her, but basically it was just reassembling some loose parts that the previous owner had dismantled to install a stereo or something. Her engine is has an oil bath air filter, which I guess is unusual for Super Beetles from 1972, but this one's got a lot of strange features because it is a German spec, and the color of the paint leads me to believe that this is a Marathon Special Edition. It has a lot of features, like for example the defrost rear window, which by the way doesn't work. Something I'll have to fix. It has these really nice rims that are not, well, the Marathon Special Edition came with a steel rim with a special hubcap on it. It was a steel sport rim, but it is possible, because there were a lot of options that you could choose from, and so this I need to get Betsy's birth certificate so I can find out if these rims are actually original or just something they bought after. But as you can see, her condition is pretty good. So if you look on the odometer there, when I bought her she had 97,000, but I drove her around for about a month in Comox, and then I had to drive her from Comox to our home in Cold Lake, Alberta, and so now we're sitting at 9981. I believe that's a 7. Look at the interior in this. So when I saw this in the high back seats, I was kind of like, that doesn't seem right for a 72. But I asked the person I bought it off, was the interior redone? Was the upholstery redone? And she said, nope, that's all original. So this is how it came from the factory, according to the granddaughter of the people that originally bought her in Germany and then brought her to Canada. As you can see, it's in pretty good shape. So I did some research on her, and I was able to find out that she was born on November 11th, 1971. But look how that paint, most of the paint on top is kind of faded from, just being around for 47 years, but some of the paint still has that beautiful look to it. And this is what the first thing that got me wondering when I was trying to figure out what edition she was, is this color of blue. It and then also on this plate here, this is the production plate, and right in the corner there you can see, so right there you see an 8 and a 7. So an 8 and a 7. So the codes for the paint code 87 or 89 was for the marathon. They call it marathon metallic blue paint, and you can see her ID plate there. And she really attracts a lot of attention wherever I go with her. Me and Betsy just drove about 1,700 kilometers in some of the worst weather ever. So when I brought her back, first thing I did is take her to a car wash. But then I had to introduce her to the family, and we went out for a little ice cream celebration. And we had some ice cream, sort of a late birthday party. The guys I was working with, I actually bought them an ice cream cake that said happy 47th birthday, Betsy. And so they were pretty happy because we're doing kind of a boring job. So in case you don't know, in the Volkswagen Super Beetle, there's no engine in the front. That's your storage space. There's actually a gas tank in there. I figured it out. It holds, I think, 40 liters. And it is surprisingly, like, Betsy is super, super good on fuel. Like, I drove for 3 days through the mountains, 110 up to 120 kilometers an hour, depending if I was going downhill or not. Some of the steeper hills, we actually ended up slowing down to, we had to pop it into third gear, and then we could maintain about 75 up to 80 in there somewhere. But it just didn't have enough horsepower to maintain 110 going up some of those steep hills. But you know what? That's part of the fun of driving, you know, a classic Volkswagen Super Beetle. Really like that emblem there on the hood. So she also has a sunroof, which is like really awesome. Just turn the light on here for a sec so you can have a good look inside. So today I cleared out this shelter, and this is going to be Betsy's home for the winter. And I've been running my propane heater over there. Propane heater. To get rid of all the ice and that. We sort of created our own little ecosystem in here, and it's raining from the roof, but I'm going to leave the door open and leave the heat on, and hopefully some of this moisture will get out of here. What's up?
Why did I start that? Where's your truck?
Huh?
Where's your truck?
I didn't pick it up yet because I need a ride there. I'll be in a sec, hon. So, a little bit of story about Betsy. As I said already, Betsy was born in Germany on November 11th, 1971. I believe that she is a special edition, but we are waiting on the birth certificate to know for sure. But regardless of whether she's a special edition or not, there's a lot of neat features in her just because she's a German spec vehicle. One of them was that, of course, they use kilometers in Germany. So her speed and her odometers in kilometers. And in 1976, 77, all the cars in Canada converted over to kilometers. So she was a little bit, ahead of the time. The family that bought her in Germany, and then they imported her back to Canada. I haven't confirmed it yet, but since the granddaughter who I bought the car off of is military, there's a good chance that they were serving in Germany, and that's how this cute little Beetle ended up in Canada. So the last owner's grandmother drove the car for several years and passed it on to her daughter, and her daughter drove it, and then she passed it on to her daughter. So it was 3 generations in the same family. And I remember the previous owner told me she learned to drive a stick shift in Betsy. So they named her Betsy. That was the name that they gave her, and we're not going to change Betsy's name because, I mean, it's pretty obvious it's a good name for her. But we did decide to give her a last name. And one thing the previous owner told me is that Betsy has a heart of gold. And I thought about all the different last names we could give her, and I kept coming back to heart of gold, and I go, well, how do you say that in a name? And so I did a lot of research, I did a lot of checking, but when it came right down to it, the best name for her is Goldenheart. So she's now Betsy Goldenheart, and I don't know how many cars have a last name, but this one now does. But she deserves it. The other thing that's kind of interesting is this little car came with a dowry. So how are we going to do this? There, let me just put my... Ooh, did it just break on me? Yeah, let me just put my little 3D camera up here. So, so what happened is the granddaughter, who I mentioned was in the military, was stationed in Edmonton, and she took Betsy in for what they call an out-of-province inspection. And so the guy came back with a list of all the things she would have to change on Betsy. And so the granddaughter said, oh, okay, and she ordered all these parts. So Betsy came with a dowry. So we got $600 worth of parts for her, as well as a $100 service manual, which I have in the house right now, which is actually for Super Beetles, and for Carmen Gia. So I might have to get a Carmen Gia one day, since I already got the book. Anyways, we have here strut insert Super Beetle. And of course there's actually 2 of those. Strut insert Super Beetle. And here we have tie rod assembly Super Beetle. And we also have another tie rod assembly. That makes sense, there's probably 2 of them. Shock absorbers. We have a shock absorber. And interestingly enough, we have 2 of them. 2 shock absorbers. What is this? Oh, a ball joint. And another ball joint. So here's the packing slip. So this was from California Import Parts Limited. And the total on it comes to $675. Strut mount Super Beetle. Strut mount Super Beetle. What are these? Oh, these are the strut rub stop. And we also have brake shoes front Super Beetle. So a set of brake shoes. That's another little interesting tidbit. I think a lot of the Super Beetles that came to North America actually had rotors on the front and drums on the back. But Betsy just has a heavier duty drum on the front. But again, that's probably part of being a German spec vehicle. If it's something more than that, I'll let you know when I find out. Once I get her birth certificate and her original equipment list. And last but not least, there's a very strange speaker that has both left and right inputs on one speaker. So I'm not really sure where we can put that in her. I'm pretty sure the stereo that she came with is not original because it has a cassette tape in it. I don't even know if they had cassette tapes in 1972. I don't think they did. I don't remember them anyways. Of course, I was only a little kid back then. But anyways, those are all the things that Betsy came with. Ooh, she's gonna get mad at me if I say her name wrong. So over the winter, this is gonna be Betsy's home. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. I got a lot of like tools and stuff that I meant to organize, but I've been kind of busy. So all the tools and stuff are gonna go into my shed, and they'll be brought out just when I'm going to be doing work. So in a couple weeks or so, this should be all cleared out. Not sure about that old quad sitting there. I might just leave it there because I kind of want to keep it protected from the elements. We had to kick Maxter, the off-road Yaris, out of here though, because Maxter's not getting any work done on him right now, and I don't think he really needs to be protected from the elements since he's turned into an off-road side-by-side vehicle. Really not great at this YouTube thing yet, but I'll probably get better. Anyways, this channel is actually all about Betsy. This is going to be Betsy Goldenheart's channel, and I shot a whole bunch of 360 video, and everything I do with Betsy is going to be 360 video, so it's going to be fun and entertaining. I mean, if you don't want to look at me when I'm talking, don't look at me, right? Look at the hood ornament, look at the pile of junk I have lying around, you know. Look at the water dripping off the ceiling. there's so much that you can look at. You can actually watch this on a tablet and turn around and see like the entire room as you're doing it. And anyways, I've shot some videos of us driving back on this 1,700 kilometer trip through the mountains in BC, over the Yellowhead Pass and everything. And some of the scenery that we drove through was absolutely gorgeous, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing what the camera captured, because I was driving, so I had to concentrate on the road. So a lot of like the most beautiful scenery I could only glance at momentarily. I didn't really get to enjoy it. And I've also done a couple videos where they're literally all about Betsy. Now, I did probably, you know, talk out loud to some people when they cut me off and stuff like that. But I was trying to just leave it as the sound of Betsy driving on the highway, just the sound of the engine and the car and the road and the wind. And the reason I was doing that is my wife and I often listen to, you know, raindrops on a tin roof, or the ocean, and they'll have these really, really long videos. They're like 10 hours long, and we'll play them so that we can, and we find that we sleep so much better with that sound in the background. And then I thought about, you know, when my kids were little, as soon as I put them in a car and started driving around, they'd just fall asleep. And so I thought, you know, maybe it's the sound of the motor or the sense of motion. I wasn't really sure what it was that lulls children to sleep, but I thought, you know what? Maybe if you put Betsy on your tablet, you know, and give it to your little kid to watch, or have it, you know, on his crib or something. You know, it may do two of one things. It may entertain them for like hours, because they can watch the scenery as Betsy drives through the mountains, or it may help them fall asleep. So I don't really know if it'll work or not. It's going to be an experiment, but I plan to do in the future a series of I got a couple done. A series of drive-throughs. So for example, Betsy drives through Bonnyville, Betsy drives through Cold Lake. There's a few cities I drove through on the way here, so I'd be like, you know, Betsy drives through here, Betsy drives through there. And so I'll try to break those up into smaller videos, but the cool thing is I'm going to be doing all these videos in 360 video. So you'll be able to see what it's like to drive Betsy if you want to watch me driving. You'll be able to see the road and the scenery in front of the car, but you'll also be able to look out the side window and the back windows and see what's behind you, see what's beside you. If you don't like the view up front, or it's obscured by mud or whatnot on the window, you should be able to see the view out the back and the side windows.